And then all of a sudden, one day I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to quit doing it. And I didn't do it anymore. And 3 months later, I got pregnant.
Wow.
So I feel like it was once I really gave it to God and I didn't try to fix it myself, then I could relax, and I ended up getting pregnant.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our Family Matters podcast, where we talk about family matters because family matters. And today, I have an honor of introducing our guest for our show today, and she is the on-site director of our COTR Sponsorship Program International. She is a mother and also a mother to many, and also to my little kids. Mm-hmm. I'd like to introduce my friend Teena Phillips. What's going on?
Oh, not much. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. I appreciate you giving some time to be here today. I know there's a lot of exciting things happening, not only here at our church, but for what is going on around the world, and you've got your hand right in the middle of it.
Yes, I do. It's just growing leaps and bounds more than I ever thought it would. So.
That's got to be amazing. And I know our viewers may not know exactly what we're talking about, but we're talking about a sponsorship program that you got to be in, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But it's just amazing, the time I've known you, you've always been a mother, not just to your children, but I've known people call you Mama Teena,
Yeah.
And you just kind of, you've always had that heart. And I appreciate you being a mother to many.
Oh, yes. It's my honor. What's not to love about children and people?
Yeah. And some of those children are grown men and grown women.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But, well, listen, today I wanted to kind of dive in a little bit about your heart. As long as I've known you, you've always loved one thing, and that is children.
Yeah.
You've loved kids, kids. Even to this day, they just run up to you. Even kids you don't know, they just run to you, yeah. And it's something, no doubt, that God has placed inside of you. It's a gift that you have, but it's also a passion and a love that you have, yeah. As well, naturally, and that's something that we see today. But obviously, that had an inception. That began somewhere. Where did this love for children that you have come from?
Just ever since I was even little, I always wanted to babysit earlier than I should have, and I would just do what I could. Even when I was a little girl, like I would watch the TV programs and I would donate money that wasn't mine. It was my mom's, She would be like, why? Did you donate again to the Jerry Lewis telethon,
Well, I'm sorry, hold on. You mean that you would call on to TV, to call-a-thons, and you would donate not your money, you were donating
No. I didn't have any money. I was like 12 years old.
You were 12 years old doing this?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Yes, I was. And my mom would be like, did you donate money again? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, it did. It started at an early age. And God has just always blessed me with always having extra children in my life. At 21, I married my husband, Jeff, who you know, and we're both in the church. And we had a lot of infertility problems. For about 6.5 years, we were not able to have children. And through it all, I just always question why, God, I feel like I have this, for lack of better words, anointing on my life, for children, and I don't understand. But I see now all the things that I learned going through that. But finally, we ended up having our first daughter, Shelby, and she's almost 30 now, so she's not little anymore. But and then I had several miscarriages after that and never had another child. And so we ended up becoming foster parents and adopting through the foster system. And so we have our daughter, Lindsay.
Yes.
And so I don't know. I feel like sometimes you think if I hadn't gone through that, I might not be where I'm at today. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like you do go through things for a reason.
Yeah.
And so we ended up, I got my kids all raised, and I didn't do a lot during those younger years, and I wanted to, commit my time to them, and I got them raised, and then we started our sponsorship program, and it's just gone
Yeah.
really well.
Well, that tells really fast, but I'm sure it wasn't easy living through those years of
Yeah.
going through the infertility that you went through, and
Yeah.
that's something that that many having children, the ability to have children, is something that can be taken for granted. What was that like whenever you were going through that?
It was kind of hard. I've been saved. I went to church all my life. My grandmother always made sure I went to church.
Yeah.
She would call me every Sunday morning, and she would say, "Get Teena up. It's time to go to church." And I wasn't really living for the Lord, but my mom would come in there and call me and make me get up and go to church. And if there was a Sunday school class that needed to be taught, she would be like, "There's a class that needs to be taught. You're going to teach this class." So she really kept me in the Word and grounded. And I look back now, I so appreciate it
Wow.
so much that she really did take care of me. And so I was a young Christian when all this began after Jeff and I got married.
Yeah.
But yet I had been going to church all my life, but I'd gotten spirit filled. And so, it was tough because, you think, okay, I've committed my life to God, and everything's good. I have a great husband. I'm in a great church, and now I can't have children. So, but I was driven. I was not one that sat on the couch and cried about it. Like, I was like, I'd go to a doctor and I'd be like, okay, what's the next thing? Okay, what's the next thing? Okay, what's the next thing? And so for 6.5 years, I ran back and forth to Houston. And then all of a sudden, one day I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to quit doing it. And I didn't do it anymore. And 3 months later, I got pregnant.
Wow.
So I feel like it was once I really gave it to God and I didn't try to fix it myself, then I could relax, and I ended up getting pregnant. And the funny story was, Jeff was like, "Are you going to take a pregnancy test?" I was like, "No. I've taken so many of them in the last 6.5 years. I'm going to take one." He was like, "Okay, go. I'm going to go get a test." And I was like, "Okay." And so he came back. He was like, "Hey, you're going to take the test?" So I was like, "No, I'm going to go take a nap. I'm not doing this." And so it was like, I just gave it to God, and then all of a sudden, I got pregnant. So
Wow.
it's a story that I like to reflect on, because
Yeah.
I look back and I see that I spent so much time with God during that time, and I learned so many things, and I just didn't know what He was preparing me for.
Wow.
So.
Man, that moment had to be so special whenever little baby Shelby was born.
Yeah,
And you
it
got to
was.
hold your daughter in your hands. There's something about an answered prayer.
Yeah.
That, especially the way the way that you explain that whenever you just trusted God, had peace, didn't worry about it, it was the time, and God was going to do it in His time.
Yes.
All along the way, but. How special was that?
It was very special, and she's very special even today. Like, it was the perfect child. She was just like, and she's so godly now and loves the Lord, and she's just a real blessing.
Yes, she is.
And I like that I can talk to other women today and help them get through, the process. And being older, I can look back and reflect and see things that I could have done differently, that,
Right.
and I'm able to share that wisdom with other young girls who
Yeah.
are going through infertility. So.
Yeah, and Shelby is a blessing. Children are a blessing, period. And obviously, you went through some more difficulty, but eventually that led to Lindsay being adopted. That alone is a wonderful story, because I know that you have also been involved in advocating for foster parents, for foster children. But tell us a little bit about that process. About how Lindsay came about.
Well, like I said, I went through several miscarriages, and so I really wanted to help. I wanted to find a way to help children.
Yeah.
And it's always been in my heart. And I'm the type of person that I don't sit around and wait for things to happen. I look around and see what can I do to help. So I knew if I became a foster parent, I would be able to help children. And we wanted to adopt. So that's what we did. We got in the process, and we, we made sure Shelby was good and stable, and then we started bringing children into our home. So eventually we got Lindsay, and we ended up adopting her. She was a little fiery redheaded girl, and Shelby was just so calm. And I always wonder, why do people have a hard time parenting? Because I had a child that was just so calm and quiet and good, and then here came our little firecracker, and she still is one to this day. But so once we adopted her, it takes a year. Children have to be in foster care for a year, and then they go up for adoption. So we ended up adopting her, and then I still wanted to stay involved helping children, so I became an advocate for CASA. So what that means is I advocate for children while they're at court. I stand for them. Of course, a 2-year-old can't go to court and speak for themselves.
Right.
So I do that for them.
That's amazing.
And so I've been doing that for like about 15 years this year.
Wow.
So.
Man, you have really gone the lengths of, started with just a heart and desire, and it led, you had to walk through some life for you to be a mother of your own. But then how you've advocated and how you fought for children, it just goes to show the heart that you have for them. And I've watched Lindsay grow up, and it's amazing to see, the mother that she's had in her corner, And, I know that it hasn't always been easy, but the one thing that Lindsay has had is she's had a good mama.
Yeah, it's not, it's not easy sometimes because they do come broken. They come from a home that was very broken. And I'm not, going to sugarcoat it. It hasn't been easy at times, but God's always pulled through, and we love her like she is our own daughter.
Yes,
so.
And she is such a blessing, you know. And so, in many ways, she's much like you.
Yes, she is. Really
so,
is.
But going through all of that, I've seen your love for children take you around the world. I mean, you've traveled around the world ministering and reaching children. And, that has, just taking a step back to just see how far God has allowed this calling that you have to children, how far it's brought you, has got to be amazing.
Yeah, I would think about 15 years ago, Pastor Ron was going to Kenya, and he said, Teena, you should go to Kenya with me. Pastor Ron's my uncle. And I said, okay. And so I went that year we went, and I met Steve and Nancy, who are people that we affiliate with in Kenya. And so they needed someone to send their child to school because it's not free in Kenya. And, of course, we all know how the poverty level is. And so I said, well, I want to sponsor. How much is it? So I started sponsoring him to go to school. And it wasn't that much, it was like $30, $40 every 3 or 4 months. And so I've been sponsoring him for 15 years.
Wow.
And so then they had another child, and so I started sending him to school too.
Wow.
So it's kind of a cool story that I got to meet them so long ago and be able to. And their oldest child now is like in the 10th or 11th grade, about to graduate. So
how cool.
Yeah.
That you really planted a seed. God planted a seed in your heart. You began sponsoring children yourself. And that has turned into something much bigger than I imagine that you probably imagine yourself.
Oh, definitely.
And
Definitely.
I mean, and what we're talking about is this child sponsorship program that has begun. You are the on-site director, but today has it started for you with 2 children that you were sponsoring, and that has evolved into many people sponsoring. How many children?
Right now, we started a year ago this month, and we have 120 children.
Wow.
That are sponsored.
120 children sponsored.
Between Kenya and India.
It's amazing.
So, yeah.
That is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And me and my family, we sponsor two
Yes,
children,
yes.
one in India and one in Kenya, and we enjoy getting to go and meet these children. But how did that whole process begin with action? Because obviously it started with you sponsoring your own children, but then it turned into a heart and a desire of giving other people an opportunity to participate in that as well.
Well, we went to Kenya
Hmm.
to the Gyoto dump site
Yeah.
where all these children are. Literally, families live on a dump site, and their children are there, and they don't have homes, and they try to make a home out of whatever they can find in the dump site. And we came back, and Pastor Ron said, "What do you think about starting a sponsorship program?" And I was like, "That is literally a dream come true. Like, I would love that." And honestly, neither one of us thought that, within our church, we thought, well, maybe 30 or 40 people will, sponsor these children.
Hmm.
And I kid you not, we put up a nice board. Pastor Kendall came in and put up a board. Literally, almost every Sunday, I go out and another child has been pulled from the board.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just really gone beyond my expectations,
Yeah.
and it literally was a dream come true.
Absolutely. And Pastor Kendall is our children's pastor.
Yes.
For those watching, and he's done a phenomenal job with that. But I've watched, as well. I've watched, these children continue to get sponsored and more upon more, and it has been a blessing for these children. Many of these children of what I've been able to see, some of these children, grew, at on upon the time of us sponsoring, they didn't have a mom or a dad.
No, some of them are taken in. Literally, the government will drop them off at the dump site, and so they will take other families will take the children in,
Yeah.
and so and they're in a very small space with several children. So,
Yeah.
but they take them as their own. It's like almost like foster care. But they take them as their own and raise them. So,
Yeah.
us helping them helps so much.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about it is this sponsorship program. It's been a blessing for the children because they get put into a family, but it's also been a blessing to the family, because taking on another child, around the world, it's not the same here. I mean, we can imagine the extra burden that it puts on us, but for a family that doesn't have a lot to go around, it puts a major burden on them. And this sponsorship program has been a blessing for the family, not only for the child coming in, but also the funds that it provides for the family as well. It's been a benefit
Yeah.
all the way around.
And one of the first things we do when a child is sponsored is we make sure they get a full checkup at a doctor's office.
Wow, that's cool.
And a lot of them have eye infections due to all the smoke from the burning of the trash and stuff. And so most of them have never even ridden in a car.
Wow.
So they get, and Nancy, our on-site director, she will, on site in Kenya, she will send me pictures of them getting to ride in a car,
Yeah.
or go to, and none of them have been to a doctor.
Yeah.
So I really am, it's not just we're just sending money. Here's some money, buy some food. It's like we're taking care of these children.
Yeah.
We want to make sure they're healthy and they're able to go to school, and all their needs are met, not just give you some money to buy some food.
Yeah.
So
Well, I've witnessed this, and you're right. Seeing some of these children, many of them had never been to a checkup. Almost all of them had never been to a checkup
right.
before they first, and so you can imagine, we can imagine what it meant for those children, and from somebody who does sponsor a child, I can say that it has been a blessing for me in my family, and to see my girls knowing that we are helping someone who is not able to help himself, but more importantly, it's providing an opportunity. In fact, the shirt behind us, it says "Change the world, give a child a chance,"
Yeah.
and I love that slogan because that's exactly what it does. Is it gives a child a chance, because these kids, they have no shot.
Right.
with where they're, with where they're at, and we're reaching into an area of life where these kids they don't have a chance, but sponsoring a child, it gives them an opportunity for them to have education, for them to expand their life expectancy, and for them to have an opportunity to become something that they never would have had the opportunity without a sponsor.
And one of the cool things about like sponsoring a child is like when you like foster here and you take a child into your home. Of course, they're not at their best. I'm sorry, they're not at their best. They need food. They need shelter. They need clothing. And then you see them a month later and they look like a totally different child because somebody cares. And it's the exact same way in Kenya. Children are children everywhere.
Yeah.
They're the same. And so when you see a child in Kenya be sponsored and know that they're loved and cared for by someone, and a month later you take another picture of them, they don't even look like the same child.
The smiles on their face are just light up.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things about our program is we set a time to take you to see your child.
Yes.
Like we are taking people to India this year to go and visit their child and to spend time with them. And the same with Kenya. Most of these people who are going on our trip in the summer sponsor a child and will be able to spend time and meet their child. And so you're not just sending money. You get to have a relationship with that child as much as you want or as little as you want.
Wow, that's beautiful. This child sponsorship program is making a difference.
Yeah.
And as we are finishing up our episode today, I think that there may be some viewers today who may have been stirred, and they may want to know more, and maybe they would like to sponsor a child. What does that look like? If someone wants to sponsor a child, what does that look like?
Well, it's super easy. You just go to our website, cotr.com, and it's $40 a month. And you just get on there and you click on the sponsorship program and you sponsor a child, and you can send your money. You can pay for the full year, $480, and so you don't have to think about it again. Or you can send it in monthly, and you will get a monthly picture of the child. I get pictures of them when they get their sponsorship money, and then I'll send that to you. And we made it as simple as we can, because we know people are busy today.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to help. People want to help. They just need the opportunity to be presented to them.
Yeah.
And if I had anything to leave with anybody, I would say, don't give up on your vision. Don't think that it's too big. But be a go-getter and go get it. And make sure that you're doing what God wants you to do, and He will set it out before you and give you the opportunity to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Amen. I mean, that will preach right there.
Yeah.
Listen, Teena, thank you so much for giving your time today. I'm so excited about this child sponsorship program and what it has done and the potential that it has in the future. Thank you for doing it.
Yes, and we're branching out to other churches. Other churches are wanting to do it.
Yes.
So we're setting up to where they can start their own program.
And families as well. So.
Yeah.
Well, listen, this has been another episode of Family Matters. Thank you for joining, and remember that your family matters. God bless you, and we'll see you guys next time.